have to make an honest self-diagnostic of your language abilities before you even begin.
Yeah.
Take the TOEFL, find out where you stand. Take the GMAT and and find out what your abilities actually are, and that's a good starting off point. And self-knowledge is really the key here.
Yeah.
If your basic language ability isn't good, then preparing for a test might not be the best way to improve that language ability.
Actually, that's true. That's true.
So you really have to figure out what's going on and how to approach this goal of taking a test. If you need to spend 2 years learning English in order to even understand the questions on the GMAT, then you should do that.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I would say honestly that if your level isn't high enough, you really should consider whether you should take the test or not, because the GMAT is not a language test. The GMAT is not testing your English language ability. It's testing your reasoning skills, your knowledge of grammar, your math. It's not primarily testing language. So if you're a very smart person, you have very good reasoning skills, you're good at breaking down arguments, and you're good at math, but then you take the GMAT and you get a low score because of low English ability, then the test is not going to be representative of you. It's not going to show what you really can do. So if you find that you're getting 75% of all the verbal questions wrong and you're having no trouble with the math or less trouble with the math, then you should consider whether or not it's a better idea to take a year, and brush up on your English ability. There are also some strategies I could get into for each section, just really briefly in terms of preparation. The math section it will be affected by your English language ability. Some people think it's not. It is, especially the word problems and the data sufficiency. So one of the things I would practice doing is translating the questions and separating the math from the English. Even if you're an advanced speaker, you're still going to be doing math operations using your native language. This is something I found studying Japanese and Chinese. No matter how good you get, I do math in English. It works faster that way. I wouldn't recommend translation for other parts of the test, but for math, it can be a good idea. Practice doing that. You can practice translating problems or do some practice problems and then try to tease out just the pure computation of it. For the CR and RC, these are reading comprehension and breaking down arguments, analysis. They're not primarily comprehension questions. They're more logic questions. They're focused on the global aspects of a passage or a short paragraph. So it's okay if you don't know every word. In fact, these questions, they don't expect you to know every word. They use a lot of very esoteric, strange topics, technical topics. They don't expect you to know all of the vocabulary. So if you don't understand a specific word, keep going. One thing I would recommend is looking at the questions if you get confused, and try to prep. We're talking about prep. Try to worry about global meanings, which the best way to prep for that is to read newspaper articles, magazine articles. I would recommend going online and reading editorials, something with an opinion, and then going to the comments section and seeing how people are analyzing and breaking down the arguments, looking at the assumptions, looking at strengthening or weakening an argument. This is what you'll get from that. And that'll help with CR and RC. And then finally, for the SC, the sentence corrections, this section will test specific, very obscure and difficult rules of English grammar. And this is a tricky section because some of the things they test are things that high school English teachers and professional writers don't know. They make mistakes. So with this section, that's the bad part about it. But the good part about it is because it tests these esoteric rules, it's actually very vulnerable to just rigorous practice. If you just do a lot of practice questions, you'll start to see the patterns. It's easier to memorize than RC logic, sort of global things where you can infer one way. When you're talking about specific rules, parallelism, use of that, if you do 300, 400 practice questions, which is not fun, but if you do hundreds of practice questions, I guarantee when you take the test, there won't be anything you haven't seen. So the best way to practice for the SC is just brute force, do as many as you can.